Yeah, yeah, think I better think about it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey everyone, it's Winey Girl here. Today I am so excited to be joined by a dear friend of mine that I have known for many years, a fellow military spouse, entrepreneur, public speaker, creator of USMClife.com, and the author of the book 15 Years of War. It's a down-to-earth, authentic read on military life. Go pick up your copy today and thank me later. So grab a glass, pour a drink, and come wine with me and Kristine Schellhaas. Welcome.
Hi, how are ya?
Good. How are you?
Oh my God, Abby. Can you imagine us being told that a pandemic would happen just right after the new year?
Oh my gosh. I'm still in disbelief with everything.
Yeah, like it's horrible.
Yeah, it's really horrible. I don't know. You guys are in Idaho, right?
Yes, you caught me mid-sip there. Yes, ma'am, we're in Idaho.
Oh my gosh. So what is it like up there? Is everyone in masks and freaking out, or are they protesting? Do you have a protesting state or a
Oh, Sarah Brady, I think that was her last name, came from our state. Remember, did you see the one about the lady at the playground that got arrested?
Oh my gosh, I did see that.
Yes, she basically orchestrated the whole thing herself. It was so stupid. Did you see the video? Because they ended up removing it.
Well, I did. Yeah, I think Paul showed me. He was because there were like 4 or 5 women there, right? All with their kids.
Yes. Well, she wasn't watching her kids because she walked up to him with her back, like she backed into him with her hands behind her back and was like, just do it. Just do it. And then he was like, okay, like I've asked you 16 times not to be here.
Gosh.
Get off the playground, not to leave the park, just get off the playground.
Yeah, and I saw the cop. The cop was like a super nice, like a good old boy, like, hey, I know it's really hard. I don't want to say this, but like, you gotta go. And she just like kicked it up a notch. What was that about?
Yeah, she just wanted attention, unfortunately. And
Wow.
yeah, so her name is Sarah Brady, and she ends up apologizing. But you know what's the worst thing is that she said, call the Idaho Freedom Foundation, and then they ended up releasing the address of, hold on, get out.
This is literally every single podcast I've done. Someone is yelling at a child somewhere.
I literally told them,
it.
Do not come in here. And I was like, the pointing didn't work, so then I had to yell, get out.
Yeah.
Golly.
You can only snap your fingers so many times and point at the door aggressively before they get the hint.
I don't care that you have problems with the computer. Like he's, oh my God, goodness. Abby. So there are so many things I have to say and talk to you about, but I feel like we need to wrap up Sarah Brady here real quick because what the Idaho Freedom Foundation did was so horrible because they went to the police officer's house. Yes, they were address and they all showed up in his front yard and were harassing him, and it went too far. And apparently Sarah Brady's married to a police officer, so she should know better.
You have to be kidding. Wow. The story, like the plot thickens on that real quick. I did not realize there was that much to it.
Yeah. And she's like the second most hated person right behind Carol Baskin now.
Oh, okay.
So
that's stiff competition. So
yeah. I mean, maybe she might have moved up to number 1. I guess it just depends. Wow. I don't think a lot of people care if you kill your husband. A lot of people care that you gave away a cop's address who didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, I think that's pretty high on the list of offense. Like you can't be doing that.
No.
Wow.
And she asked for this attention. And I think she thought she was going to be, I heard her on Facebook groups or other people referring her to as the Rosa Parks of this movement. I was like,
please.
Get
to
out
go
of
to
here.
The park? Like you definitely knew the rule. How do you not know the rule? And then whatever.
Yeah. Like how can you even compare yourself to someone like Rosa Parks? Please.
That's
disgusting.
Ugh, man, that's low. Oh my goodness.
Just the fact that they would even correlate them. I'm like, have you actually read history?
Do you know the history books? So that's what your state is. Yeah. That's where your state's at right now.
That's our state's contribution to the quarantine.
Awesome. That's awesome.
But, we had a hot spot at a ski resort because a lot
Okay.
of people were flying in. It's a very ritzy area. It's called Sun
Yeah.
Valley. And
Okay.
so a lot of people fly in from Hollywood, and a lot of actors have homes there
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I can
billionaires.
imagine.
And so that's where I like a hot pocket. And so it didn't really hit Boise too bad.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I was freaked out a little bit there. I didn't know
Yeah.
what was coming, but now I'm just over it.
Yeah. I'm kind of over it too. And
I'm being safe. I'm being safe. I'm practicing precautions,
yeah.
but I'm not panicking.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty much where we're at. We're just kind of sitting here waiting for something to change. Nothing's really changing. So, yeah.
So how is business being affected for you in Kansas? Are you in Missouri side?
I'm on the Missouri side. Yeah. But it's funny, our state, it's kind of weird. Like Kansas City. So we're about 25 miles south of Kansas City. So we don't fall into what they've been referring to as the core four, the counties surrounding Kansas City that kind of formed a pact to just shut down. And they're kind of doing their own thing. Like the governors are not the governor, the mayor of Kansas City, and then the mayor of these other places. They're like, no, we're going to make our own, we're going to set our own rule because nobody really knows what to do. And we're right on state lines. So you can't really say, oh, okay, in Kansas City, in the Kansas side, you can't go here and these places aren't open. But on the Missouri side, it's okay. Like that.
I never thought about that.
It wouldn't make sense. And both governors on either state, they weren't in agreement for a while. So the Kansas City mayor just kind of took it in his own hands and he was like, you know what, I'm making this rule and I encourage the surrounding counties to kind of follow suit, and they all did. And now I just saw something, a friend texted me, I think it was this Monday, saying next Monday, so in 4 days, our Missouri's governor is just opening the state back up. There's no phase program. There's there's no nothing. And then my friend I just had on the podcast in West Virginia, of all places, has a more solid plan for phased
They brought
opening.
it from their cousin over in Virginia. They didn't make that themselves.
Maybe, but wow. I was like, how does West Virginia have their shit together and Missouri can't do it? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
The exam. Yeah,
I think so.
Exam, I'm convinced.
They got the smart kids next to them. They're just taking the paper. Yeah, it's interesting. Very interesting. So we will see what happens on Monday. I plan to make one last run to the store maybe before stuff is for real open.
Yeah, well, you need to, because I went to Costco today to get meat, and there's already signs everywhere saying that you have a limit of 2 to 3 meat products, period.
Oh my gosh.
And that they're already being impacted by a supply chain. And I know pet food's going to be impacted.
Yeah.
So go get your meat, go get your pet food.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of that. The thing that we seem to be going through a lot is just milk and eggs.
I thought you were going to say alcohol.
Well, that too, but I'm getting to the point where I'm going to have to drink some Sutter Home, and I'm not happy about that. So
throw some sugar in it and some fruit, and then turn it into.
Call it sangria.
Yes, exactly. That's the perfect thing to do with Sutter Home.
Yeah, that's the only thing to do with Sutter Home, unless your grandma's visiting, and then you serve it to her. But yeah. So things aren't they're not crazy scary over here. They're just like, oh, okay, well, I don't know. You just got to make decisions based on your own best interest, I guess. But we will see. We will see come Monday.
Now, did Paul go into lockdown mode? Get the guns out, get the safety out. He's got a plan. He's got his go bags, and where's somewhere he's going to go.
You know it. And did Ross do the exact same thing? Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah. Paul was excited. I think he was more, I've never seen his eyes light up as much as they did when everything kind of got announced. He was like, all right, it's go time.
Yeah. Ross is like, I'm going to go drive in the mountains and find a back road.
Yeah.
Okay. Have fun with that. I'll be here.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see ya. I'll be here drinking this wine. It's not going to drink itself.
I'm going to pour myself out if I have to. I don't care. I'm not going anywhere.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, he's pretty excited. He said, all right, we've got everything we need. Everybody's stocked and ready, and everybody's got their own job in the family. So I'm like, oh, okay.
What's your job?
I think my job is to he has the dog. I keep the kids back and hold the shotgun. And then whatever else happens, I don't know, whatever. We just go from there.
Ross literally grabbed a sewing kit and started sewing ammo onto like an ammo pack onto the shotgun because I don't really like it. No, ever. So for 3 nights in a row, he's in our bed because we have construction at our house. So we were
that's
like, do we kick the
right.
construction workers out? What do we do?
Yeah, what do
And
you
then
do there?
construction is an essential business. And then one of our contractors, he's like, hey, just so you know, one of the workers' moms tested positive for COVID. And I was like, well, does he live with her? And he goes, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So then I was like, well, I guess I'm not coming into work.
Oh my gosh.
And so I just started working at home right after that. But yeah, we just decided, you know what? They're mostly not around us. So we kind of basically hibernated in the master bedroom. And so all of us had been here. And so then at night, Ross would be sewing because he knows I hate the shotgun. Like, he's like, how do you work this? I was like, who cares?
Yeah.
He's like, no, Kristine. So then he's going like, he's like, pay attention to what I'm showing you. Do you see this?
My goodness.
And he's like, and then you do this? Okay, got it.
That is
I should
awesome.
be better. But I didn't grow up around guns. I don't like them.
I
don't
didn't
mind
either. I know how to use a hammer. I can do that. I can come at him with a drill. What if I do that? That'll be better.
I'll be the person that has the drill taken away from me. I'm sorry.
I have heard, and my plan of attack is either just grab a huge dildo and wave it at the person trying to attack you, because who's not going to run away from that, right? Or
that might excite them. So that could
you
go both
never
ways.
know. It depends on who the attacker is. It really depends on their. Or you just grab poop from the dog and put it on the end of a stick and then just like walk towards them with it.
That takes too much energy.
It would. I mean, you would have to prep. You'd have to have
Hold
sticks
on,
with
burglar.
poop. Yeah, you'd have to have them all like lined around the house. Make sure.
Yeah. Let me go show you where I've buried all the gold coins.
Yeah.
Come to the backyard.
Come here. Come in the backyard.
Yeah.
Really.
My plan was just screaming really loud and acting like a crazy person. Like I'm sure I could bite them really hard in several places. And they'd be like, she's crazy enough. If I act like the crazy girl, then maybe they might believe that that's really who I am.
I mean, that's
my best strategy at this point.
I think it's the only strategy.
Not relying upon my trained killer that I'm married to, because that would be stupid.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And you have multiple dogs, though, don't you? You have multiple dogs? Because we just have like an 8-pound Chihuahua dachshund mix who is just a spaz anyways and barks at everything, but then runs away as soon as it's time to attack.
Oh,
so
our Winey is a monster. She will attack you. She has bitten every construction worker that works here. She's bitten my housekeeper. She goes for the leg and bites and attacks.
I love it. See, so you already have your plan of defense right there.
And then the other
dog.
You
act crazy and throw the dog at them, and that's good.
She would, she's an asshole. But my daughter can dress her up in an evening gown and puts cowboy hats on her, and she's perfectly fine.
Aww.
It's just with everybody else that she's just not so great.
That's awesome.
So Ross loves her because she's so naughty.
Right.
And I can't
just get a kick out of it when she misbehaves. He just laughs.
Yes, he loves it. It's his favorite thing about her.
That's
and
awesome.
Then, the big dog, we have a Griffon lab mix.
Oh, okay.
And he's 80 pounds. He's huge. He almost looks like an Irish wolfhound, just a little smaller.
Wow.
And he's got a horribly mean bark, but he's a big baby.
Yeah. The bigger dogs
He took me out at work yesterday. We were walking out of work. It was like one of my first days back because I had to stop and talk to some people. And I have him on the leash and I'm walking out and he sees a squirrel right in front of me. And I'm not really paying attention. And then all of a sudden he decides he's going for it. Jerks the leash out of my hand, and I eventually let go because I'm so far forward. Then I trip over my flip-flops, eat it. My glasses and keys go flying. He's chasing the squirrel all over the parking lot. I'm screaming at him. And I finally get him into the car, and I was like, oh, my God, that's all on film. So I went into work today to get the footage to put on Facebook.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it only caught the part of me getting up and going to the car. So I think I might just get it for memories.
Yeah.
Come back up.
Take a look back and be like, I remember that.
Yeah. Remember that asshole.
That's hysterical. Well, how is retired military life treating you guys? That's what I wanted.
Well, it was an interesting transition, honestly, because I feel like I mind fucked myself for the first year.
Yeah. I can attest to that. I
felt like I was waiting for Ross to drop divorce papers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because it happened to so many people that I knew, like these people who had such great relationships from the outside, and then all of a sudden you see that they're divorcing. And
Oh,
it's always
wow.
the wife who never knew. She was
Um,
blindsided. The husband says, I don't love you anymore. I want a fresh start. And basically was using her to get through as a crutch, for the laundry and the
you've
taking care of the
got
kids.
to be kidding me.
And then
Wow.
there was divorce papers right after the retirement ceremony. And I just kept waiting for that. I don't know why I thought that in my head. And I would have talks with Ross about it. And he was just like,
Right.
you have to stop. Like, we have been through so much together that
Right.
I'm not leaving you. I'm not divorcing you. But I don't know why I did that. I just had to get over it. And then
Yeah.
finding our new normal was a challenge because Ross didn't work for the first year. And so I was working at home. And
Okay.
so we went from hardly ever seeing each other to spending every spare minute together.
Oh, wow.
Which it
Yeah.
wasn't horrible, but there were times I was just like, okay, you're
It's an
bugging me.
adjustment. It's an adjustment for
And
sure.
I was only working part-time. So like some of it was really great. We'd go out to lunch together and we'd go out to the movies.
Right.
And we'd have a lot of afternoon sex, which was really great.
That's
And
always good.
yeah. But, then the kids get home. But then here's the other part that we got in some arguments about. He didn't pick up a lot of slack where I needed more help. So I was still cooking dinner every night. I was still doing all the laundry.
So he's home. He's just not really there.
Yeah. And I think he didn't recognize that he needed to be a contributor or that what he was doing wasn't enough.
Right.
And so like he'd be like,
Which
well,
they
I
don't
vacuum.
they almost like don't even know because they weren't ever really in it when they were home, like in between, because their mind was always on the Marine Corps. So even when they would help out, it was just like, oh, I got to go through the motions. That's how I felt. Like it was never really a present. Like they're not present in where they're at. So
yeah, I had no expectations really for him. I mean, I would tell him when I needed him to do stuff, but I was like, I don't need to nag you to do things. You need to just pitch in.
Yeah.
And he was like, he'd grab the vacuum sometimes and vacuum and he'd load the dishwasher. But I was like, dude, that's not enough where we're at. So I basically quit doing all schoolwork and homework with the kids because I don't enjoy that. And I was like, I've done this for the last 15 years. So no.
Yeah. Passing
and
it
now
on.
that quarantine's doing e-learning, I'm like, I don't care.
God. Yeah. No, I've given up. This week was my give up week.
Yeah.
I gave up. I was like, you know what? Do what you can in the next 2 hours and then stop doing it and go play outside because I'm over it. So, and I don't know about your schools, but our schools have changed the parameters of how they're doing things pretty much every 10 days since this whole thing started.
Yuck.
So we've gotten, we're just going to take some time off and we're going to ease into it. And then we've gotten, okay, time to start new learning. Here's all your stuff. You're being graded on this. And then everyone's stressed out. And then they came back and they were like, all right, well, we're not like grading. We're just saying if it's in or if it's not in, but it will affect your grades somewhat. And here's the percentages. And then this week they just released a new email saying like, we're just going to back off a little bit because everybody's stressed out. We've gotten multiple feedback from like multiple students and parents and stuff. And so now I'm like, you know what? I stressed myself out for the last 4 weeks trying to keep up with everything. And I could have just sat on my ass and this email still would have come. And I would have been like, oh, glad I didn't stress myself out or try to stress the kids out. So now I'm done. I'm like, well, whatever they get done, they get done. And if not, if you're going to hold a kid back during a worldwide pandemic because he couldn't get his work done virtually in a classroom environment you can't control, that says more about you than it does my kid. I can't.
Well, and how many parents are working full time? Like we're essential employees. Well, I am. Ross is not so much, but he's still working full time. We're both working from home. I usually hide out in the master. He works out in the main room with the kids.
So, okay. So here's my question. How the hell are you guys doing that? Because I will fully admit, my kids have it really good. Like I work real estate. So I just basically kind of took a step back and I was like, time to focus on the kids and the family and school and whatever. So I was able to take on the load of that where Paul couldn't. Like Paul's job kind of ramped up when he started working from home. So I kept thinking though, I have no idea, one, how single parents are doing this or people who are both essential workers, which I've got some friends that like they both work in a hospital or they, one of them works in a hospital, one of them does construction or works at a grocery store, something like that. They can't do this with their kids.
Yeah,
So how
like
are
who's
you guys
watching their
doing it?
kids? What if they're
I don't.
small and little? Like who's
Yeah,
doing that?
I don't know. It's insane.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. So I'm the communications and digital media manager of a $9 million animal shelter. We have
Is that what you're doing? Because that's the Humane Society, right?
Yes, Idaho
Okay.
Humane Society. So
Nice.
that is a $9 million, 2 veterinary clinics. We transfer in about 1,300 animals a year from out of state, from underserved communities, so that they don't get euthanized.
Jeez.
We transfer in animals from all over rural Idaho. We have a pet food pantry, so we feed people when they can't feed their pets.
Right.
We take owner surrenders and we rehome them. Like we do so much cool stuff. But we had to go completely digital in a matter of hours. So who does that fall on? Me.
Oh my gosh.
So thank God I had some ideas and I had researched various things that I wanted to implement it.
Right.
So when they said, okay, well, here's our situation, I was like, sweet. It was just a matter of putting the puzzle pieces together. I already knew how to do it, what I wanted to do, what programs could do what for us. So we moved to an application process for adopting out the animals. And then I'm in charge of all the communications too. So that means every media interview, all of the written comm that goes out via e-newsletter, updating the website, coming up with all the marketing. So I worked like 2 70 to 75-hour weeks in a row. And it was exhausting.
And you're stressed because it's a pandemic and your kids are home and your husband's home and he's trying to work. Oh my gosh.
So, but it's gotten better. It's not that crazy, but I'm not on the front lines. I'm not dealing with these clients who come in and they have no money and they're crying and their animals, their best friend, and it's the only thing they've got left in the world. Like that's got to be hard for vet techs and veterinarians.
Sure.
Try to do what they can to save those. And it's the same for human hospitals and everywhere else who are trying to do what they can to save lives. So I have a very small piece of that, but I've been working from home. I just lock myself in my room and I do a lot of finger pointing. And thank God I have really great coworkers. So they understand when I have to say,
awesome.
Hold on.
Yeah. No, that's good. I keep telling that to Paul and he'll say like, oh, can you keep them quiet? Or can you stop the dog from barking? I'm like, listen, like, no, I can't control this environment.
Work in another room where he's not being bothered then.
And he is.
Paul's environment needs to shift. That's
exactly.
what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. And he does the best he can by locking himself in his office. But the problem is it's right by the front door and the dog hates everyone who comes within like 2 miles of our house.
Well, everybody else's dogs are barking too.
Yeah.
So.
That's kind of what I told him the other day. I'm like, everyone else is having the same issues you're having. So just embrace it and forget about it. So
yeah. And that guy went on Good Morning America without pants on.
Oh my gosh. I just saw that and I was dying laughing. I cannot even believe it. I'm glad he had a sense of humor about it though.
Yeah. Well, because he's cute too. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, if there's anyone you'd want to accidentally see without pants on, that would be one of the news anchors that would be okay.
Yep. Yeah. So, everybody's got their days. So
Yep.
All I had to do, I was like wearing like a swimsuit top, and I threw a business jacket on and a scarf. And Ross was like, "You just really don't want to get dressed today, do you?" Like, no, there's no need for that. I already had to put makeup on. I haven't been wearing makeup for hardly any time this month.
Me neither.
I think Ross likes it when I put money. Yeah, it's like old Kristine's back. So I have to be on TV at any given notice. So like. Media, I'm on TV probably 2 to 3 times a week on average.
Oh my God.
And I never know when they're going to call. So I have to come to work ready. Yeah.
Oh boy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's got to be stressful.
Oh, it's not. I've got my talking points down. It's usually good things. And everyone loves animals. So it's not a bad thing when the media calls. It's just a matter of fitting them into your busy day. But
that's good.
They're not coming after us for any negative stories. They are very supportive of our work.
So you didn't take the dogs to a park and try to play there, even though social distancing is in effect?
No. I don't take my dogs anywhere. I'm like the laziest dog owner. I legit take them to work and then I drop them off. So that's why I brought Augie to work the other day, because my CEO's dog is a little Weimaraner puppy, and Augie and her are best friends. And I said, how's Helga doing? And he was like, oh gosh, she's going crazy. So I dropped Augie off for a play date
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
that's where I was
Oh my
at.
gosh.
Talk about
That's
job
awesome.
security. He'll never get rid of me just because he wants Augie around.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. You woo them with the cute dogs. That's all you got to do.
So I have to say this, the real estate market here is still booming. Like they're selling houses virtually now.
Yeah,
It's like the military. People are getting a taste of this military life
they
with the
are.
quarantine. And
Yeah,
they're
they're
buying
doing the
houses sight
whole
unseen. And
sight
it's,
unseen. Yeah, it's funny when it all kind of came out that that they shut down in Kansas City, at least when they shut down open houses and broker opens and preview stuff, whatever. There were already some people they were doing the FaceTime calls, and I've done that with a few of my clients and stuff, but there were a lot of comments like, "Oh my gosh, this is never going to be the way it works. Like no one's going to do this." And I think back like 5 years ago when we moved here, we bought our house sight unseen.
mm-hmm.
We knew someone who lived here and they literally walked in with the FaceTime and like, "Here's the bedrooms, here's the bathroom." I'm like, "Yep, looks good. Okay,
Does
cool.
it
We'll
smell
be
like
there."
cat pee?
That's exactly what I asked. I said, "I don't care what it looks like. I can paint walls." I said, "Tell me what the basement smells like." Because I really am worried that the basement is going to smell. And she's like, "No, it doesn't smell." I'm like, "All right, we're in." So, yeah. And that was 5 years ago. So there was no quarantine. There was no nothing. I needed a place to live. And so you just
Amen.
kind of take matters into your own hands and you make it work. But yeah, now everybody's kind of experiencing that. So
I have to ask you, why the shift into real estate? What was your drive there?
I think, well, I've always been interested in real estate. I like every single time Paul would say, "Hey, we're going to move, or we've got orders, or we're going here." I would be on Zillow, on Trulia, whatever the sites were. I was on them within 5 minutes. Like, "Ooh, look at these houses. Oh, look at this neighborhood. Look at these things." And one day it just kind of clicked when I was back here. I had gotten a job working for the school district when we first got here, and just to kind of pay the bills and get out of the house. And it was, I had 10 years not doing anything. All the kids were finally in school, and I was like, I got to have adult interaction.
Yeah, you got to find yourself.
Yeah. So I went to work for the technology department at the school district here and had a great time, loved it. I just basically went around and fixed people's computers and projectors, and all the teachers like helped them when they had stuff break or whatever. And then I transitioned to a little bit less hours to work at an elementary school, one of the ones that I had actually helped, and I'd made a few friends there, and they were amazing people. So I was like, "Oh, this is a work environment I could totally thrive in." So went and worked there as just an assistant in the library and had a really good time there. And then our whole district reorganized. So they turned that school into a preschool, and then they consolidated we had intermediate schools versus middle school. So we had like elementary, intermediate, middle, and then high school, which was, it was really weird. So they took away the intermediate, which was just 5th and 6th. They put the 5th in the elementary and the 6th in the middle. So of course I'm sure you can imagine, like they had to rezone. They had to make sure everybody fit into some school.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like a mess.
It was a total mess. It was a total disaster for a year. No one knew where they were moving. No one knew if they were going to have a job at this school with this principal, with that person. I mean, you break up teams, all that stuff. So yeah. So when that happened, there was no position because there was already a library assistant at the school that like everybody else would be going to. So I just kind of took that as like, you know what, I'll just bow out. I'll kind of start doing something on my own at this point. So that's when I got into real estate and decided to go take the test and start out, and here I am. So
I feel like you're the perfect person to be a real estate agent too, because you are so with it. You're with the trends. You've always had a really adorable house. You're so personable and super smart, and you've got all your tech stuff. So it's like the perfect little package.
Yeah, I really enjoy the marketing aspect of it more so than like the actual house hunting stuff. I really enjoy like, oh, okay, we're gonna list the house. I'll take pictures and post them online and do all that stuff. So I really, really enjoy that. And then just meeting people and helping them, like that's the bottom line. Is if I can help you solve your problem, then I feel like I've accomplished something at the end of the day. So yeah, it's fun. It's really fun. So, well, you have done I have to tell you, I went back and because I read your book when it came out, and I went back just 2-3 days ago, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to thumb through this and see if I can just get some talking points out of it. I ended up reading the entire thing again. And I ended up bawling my eyes out at certain points. And I thought, I don't remember this affecting me this way as much when I first read it. And you know how you sometimes you read things and if you're not in receive mode, it just doesn't, nothing clicks. And then you read it again and you're like, oh, that really made a difference in my life. I don't know why, but that's how it was for me. So
probably because it was too close, maybe too.
I think so.
Just lived with each other, and not lived with each other on the same street, and spent some time together. And it really, I think, perspective really makes us treasure that chaotic time in our lives. And I feel like we're handling the pandemic better than most people because we've had such low lows.
Yeah.
That this is just another day. It's a speed bump. It's not that big of a deal where people that have had to shift their lives okay, you're working at home with your kids and your kids are e-learning. Is that the end of the world? No. Of course, I'm not trying to minimize when people are sick or they're dying.
Sure.
Just, their regular routines interrupted. They didn't get to go on that vacation they've been saving for. They didn't get to celebrate their birthday with their loved ones.
Yeah.
Their anniversary. Where that's what's our lives for decades.
Was our life. So. Yeah. 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 And I think when I first read it, I was still, so when we detached from, so when we moved off Pendleton, he just broke away from active duty, but then he still did reserve stuff.
I remember that. And I was like, you fool.
Yeah. Right. I know. We thought,
you think it's going to be so much better over there. And it's not.
Gosh. It is. It's almost worse than active duty. It's gotten to the point where I think it's worse. It's more of a time commitment than active duty, which is crazy. But
that's because Paul's doing a good job. Just tell Paul to do shitty job and won't call him in.
Well, he retired. He retired in 2018, July. Oh,
that's right. He did
2018, and it was the best day of my life. So we're done. We hung it up. We were done. So, but yeah, I think when I read it, I was still kind of attached to it in some way, shape, or form, and I still kind of had that. I don't know. You kind of get that like bitterness is still there about the Marine Corps. So I couldn't look back on it with, I remember that. And like, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. I didn't have the perspective yet. So now flash forward. When did your book even come out?
Oh God. I don't even remember.
I
feel like it's been a few years. Because I self-published the first go around because I was I know there's going to be a certain market of followers who follow my website and friends and family who are going to buy this book. So I was like, I'm going to capitalize on that by selling it myself out the gate because the technology was there.
Yeah. And that was my first copy was getting it. I think it was the original one. So
did you get a hard copy then?
I think so.
Paperback. Hardly anybody has the hard book.
Yeah.
But I had offers to go out the gate with a publisher, but I was like, I'm just going to put that money in my pocket because I didn't want a publisher to go and change the story. I understand I'm not the best writer in the whole entire world, but I wanted it, whatever I said, to be authentic, and I wanted it to be real to what the story really was. Now, it was really hard telling Ross's part of the story because obviously I wasn't there, and I just literally had him locked in the car with me for days on end that I could
I love transcribe. That you did that, and I have thought about doing that for Paul, and I thought there is no way in hell Paul would ever do that because he would get so annoyed. And I loved reading that Ross was annoyed with you.
They can't leave you when you're driving across the country.
You're trapped. You have to.
What are you going to do?
Right. Right. No, I love it. I love the fact that it is your account and his account. And you might have two completely different perspectives. You might agree on what happened. Like it really is an authentic, very true, very down to earth book. I love it.
Thank you, Abby.
I love also, so the military part was amazing. And I loved reading all those stories and the timeline and all that stuff. But I have to tell you that my favorite part of the story was hearing all about all the trials and tribulations of the monster-in-law. And that was my favorite.
So many people can relate to having a crappy mother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, say no more. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't even talk to mine anymore. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of at that point too in my life, but wow, there was stuff that I read over today and yesterday that, oh, I was like, oh gosh, that drudges up some feelings. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
someone posted, finally, for the first time, my mother-in-law can't tell me what it's like to parent
I,
during a pandemic.
yes, I saw that. Yeah. I know it's so hard being in lockdown with 3 kids.
Yeah. Well, when I did
Oh,
it, in
yeah.
circa, no one
Yeah.
wants to hear that.
Oh my God. I know. I struggle. I struggle with even having any conversation. So I don't think we'll have that conversation. But
Yeah, it just like you know what? And she's a great person with the right people around her. I
yes.
unfortunately, it was for those who are listening and haven't read my book.
Yeah.
It's a matter of we see things from a very different perspective, and she's, as you age in life, you change the details of the history to suit your needs,
You do. Yeah. And
and
there are certain people that yeah, they change the story to fit their truth.
yep.
And
And maybe that's how her coping mechanism to get through life, because she's made some really horrible decisions as a
yeah.
human being and a mother and a wife.
Yeah.
But
And that's
but
tough. And
and
that's
she's
a
such a
lot of
critical
hurt.
person to judge me when I'm like, I didn't do X, Y, or Z like you did.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
you're still critical of me, whatever. So I just stay in my lane and she stays in her lane, and she knows where the boundaries are for the most part. And
Yeah.
even at like baseball games and everything else, like I don't even sit by her. I just take my chair and go sit like on the other side, team side, or whatever I need to do to get through. And I have no ill will towards
Right.
her. I don't want anything bad to happen to her. I want my husband and the kids to spend time with her. I just don't want to be around her.
And
So,
there's some people that just don't get along, and
yep,
that is okay. And
exactly.
sometimes they're related to each other, and that's okay.
Yes. And I know that no matter who Ross would have married, it would have been this way. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of had to come to grips with that too, is that I can't take anything personal because it really, in the end, it has nothing to do with me.
no.
It has everything to do with that person and how they handle things and how they react to things. And that's okay. But if I choose that that is not healthy for me and not safe for me, then yeah, my boundary goes up and I have to enforce it. So, but
Yeah.
it took me so many years to realize even what boundaries were, because I wasn't raised by the best teacher in that regard either, that you should have boundaries. So I kind of had it from both ends of like, I didn't know that you could tell somebody, hey, now's not a good time to come to our house. And when they said, well, we really want to come, you could still say, I'm sorry, you can't come. Like, I didn't know
Right.
that you could do that, but now I do. So
Right. And as women, we have a way of feeling guilty for things. And I don't think
yeah,
we should. Like, we have every
yeah,
right to have boundaries in our lives. And people who are really manipulative have worked on that skill for years and years and years.
yeah,
And they
yeah.
do things to make you question your sanity. And you're like, or
Mhm.
even what you remember from the situation of, oh my gosh, is
Yeah.
that what really happened? Because they'll make you believe that you're a liar.
Yeah, when you look back and you start doubting your own truth. Like, oh no, I'm not misremembering that. Am I misremembering that? Yeah, you start
Right.
questioning.
Do I
It's
have a right to
terrible.
feel this way? And
Yeah.
then, thankfully, because Ross was deployed, and that's when she'd usually pull most of these stunts that she tried to do, I would
Mm,
just read the emails that I would send him nightly. And I was like, no, I
yeah.
have it written down. I was like, I've never kept a diary, but I tell you what, like having those emails to refer back to, and that
Yeah.
was before I even started writing the book. Honestly, the reason I got my emails together was to figure out how to deal with her in therapy.
Right, right. And try to resolve the situation.
Yeah,
Then
because
yeah.
yes, that was how it all started. And then I started rereading these emails, and I was like, oh my God, it just took you back to a time and place that few people understand. They say that
Yeah.
militaries and, there's such few people serving today that would even understand what it's like. And then most people do 4 years. A lot of people don't retire from the military these days. But
Yeah. Not
when
many
you've
do.
been in it that long, there's a handful of us. So,
Yeah. 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 There's only a few left that really understand it. But I really liked the part about the where you reference like the people that are outside the military just don't understand like what we go through. We don't have the help and the support and like the assistance that you would normally have if you still lived in your hometown. You
Right.
just
And that's
don't
not their
have that.
fault. They want to know,
No.
but
Yeah.
they don't have the tools or the objectives to like step back and look at it through the same lens.
Sure. And it's tough to explain. I mean, I've tried to explain it to people who have like no connection to the military, so they just don't get it. So,
well, and their husband goes on a trip or their spouse leaves for 2 weeks, and that was horrible.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so you already have babysitters built in. Your family probably lives nearby. You didn't have to move. Like, it's a lot to have to deal with this lifestyle, but I think we're a lot tougher. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I am convinced we will be happier people because we know when things are good and we appreciate it.
Yeah, you really do. You gain the perspective on life in general, just to know that, like, all right, things aren't that bad. So
no, and I think about how good life is, how easy it is. Like both Ross and I work, we have great income, kids are in stable schools, they have their friends, we have a great neighborhood, we've got a great community, but we also have a retirement. So having that extra little oomph, it was certainly earned. Like Ross and Paul did the heavy lifting.
100%.
They put those hours in. 100%. Not saying we didn't support them. We did support them, but we weren't being shot at the end of the day. Like when we had a hard day, we popped the fire pit out front and poured a bottle and let our kids eat Cheetos and popcorn for dinner. We didn't care.
That's right.
Some days you just had to do that. But at the end of the day, we never had to leave. And I honestly, Ross loved it. I'm sure Paul did too. Ross would take deploying over almost anything. I think Ross would deploy in a heartbeat if he could again.
Yeah, I think there were definitely aspects of it. And that's, Paul talks about it occasionally. We'll get on the topic of it. And that's the same kind of opinion he has. It's just, there's aspects of it that were really fun and they are great to look back on and kind of reminisce. And then there were, the administration things that just, they weren't fun. It wasn't fun. And it kind of turned into just not a fun gig. So, and that's what
because you have to prep for the deployment, right? So you spend, a year prepping and dealing with the cog in the wheel.
Right.
And then you finally get to deploy and put into action what you've been training for. But after some time, you just get too senior and then you become, part of the admin realm.
Yeah. And then it's just a bunch of paperwork.
Yeah. And then you have to take responsibility for an 18-year-old who got drunk and decided whose last drink was at 6:00 in the morning and then drive a Humvee and flip it because they passed around a corner. And then you have the potential to get fired for that because
you weren't in control of your Marine. Yeah.
So it's a different Marine Corps, that's for sure.
It totally is. So you guys got out. He retired. What year did he retire?
Technically, I want to say it was 17. I moved home in 16, I think. And then he retired in November 17. Okay. So he didn't come home. I moved home to get the kids settled in school. Okay. Bought a house sight unseen like you.
Nice.
And I knew the neighborhood I wanted to be because my brother and his wife lived up the street. And so it's a college town. We're just a mile, not even that maybe, from the stadium. So we live in the old historic part and we can bike and walk everywhere. Really great schools. And but it's becoming very expensive. So since we bought the house, it's probably nearly doubled in its value. So thank God we got out when we did.
Yeah.
But we absolutely love the neighborhood. So I had kind of been watching it, same thing on the Zillow and looking for MLS. One person, the first house we put an offer in, said they didn't want to sell to anyone from California. So we didn't get the house.
Seriously?
But I was like, I'm an Idaho native, thanks. But I guess it didn't matter.
Oh, that's interesting.
I guess you have some haters that don't want any new people to move in.
That is funny. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, no, we're actually just moving home.
Back to your hometown. Yeah.
It wasn't meant to be. So we're only I want to say 11 houses or so from my brother, but he just moved. So now we're 15 or 20.
Okay. All right.
So I had to walk a little further with my wine.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You had to ride your bike.
Yeah. I'll get an electric scooter. What are you talking about? I'm going to exert any energy on a bike.
Yeah. Who does that anymore?
Make my kids wheelbarrow me over.
So are you on a gag order to talk about your crazy neighbor there? Or is that all settled? Has the dust settled on all that?
I think so. I don't know what's happening. The house is sold and she's moved on. So
so they sold
do
the
we give
house.
them
They
code
don't live
names,
there
or do we just want to say what they are? It's going to be hard for me not to say the name.
Yeah. You don't have to. I mean, you
Okay,
can.
I'll try to keep it under wraps so people can't Google this superb human being.
Listen, it's a superb story. I'll just tell them your name and they can go find your story all over your Facebook page because that was the best saga.
That's private. It's private. I've got it locked down.
Damn it.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's like, when's your next book coming out? And I said, that's so much work. Like, I don't know that I will. Maybe I will. I don't know. I doubt it. But
just that few months of info there with your neighbor.
Maybe I should just do a few white pages on Amazon, like where I sell like 20 pages at a time.
It could be kind of like a Tiger King saga too.
It could, because they ended up making a new episode. I haven't seen the last one, I suppose, but
yeah, it's not really
I heard his teeth got fixed. That one guy's
he did. Husband. He fixed his teeth. Yeah, he's very excited about that. Then he put a shirt on for his final interview.
Oh wow!
Just so you know.
So that was peer pressure by his wife.
Yeah. What I want to know is, when are you going to do a movie about the book? Because that's what I would like to see.
Oh, well, no one's approaching me about it. I feel like it needs to be done in a series, though, like if it were done.
Like Twilight, but you would release them like one at a time.
Or no, it would not be like Twilight. It would be like Lifetime cheesy-ass movie where Sarah Michelle Gellar plays me.
That's what I was going to ask. Who would play you? Sarah Michelle Gellar.
She's the one I got, like, everyone said I look like Sarah Michelle Gellar when I was younger.
That is awesome. I love it.
I don't know who would play me, honestly. I never thought about it. Who's an angry white man that would play Ross?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Who would play Ross?
Yeah, he does look like, who is married to Demi Moore? What is his name? No, the guy married to Demi Moore.
Now?
Yeah. No, before.
Oh, Bruce Willis.
But yeah, he's a little Bruce Willis-y.
Yeah. Yeah, he could do it. Or Jack Nicholson.
He's still alive.
Is he still alive?
I'm sure he is.
Still alive? I think so. Yeah. He hasn't died yet of COVID or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Ross about died after having to move in next door to this neighbor. I
can't even believe this. The stories, for those who don't know, the stories are off the wall. You'll have to Google them. I'm sure you could just Google Idaho crazy murder.
Oh, it won't come up. Let me just spill the tea for a moment.
Spill the tea, please.
We moved in. Everything seemed fine. And this fence jutted in our yard like 2 feet in the backyard. But our house is 105 years old. So it's like an old historic house. The old gate was on the property line. And so when I bought the house, I was like, what's up with this fence? Like, why does it jog into our backyard? And our house is not super wide. It's 45 feet wide. So you want to covet every space that you have.
Yeah.
And so we were asking about it, and then they were like, oh, I don't know. And how old's the fence? Oh, I don't know. No one knew anything. And so we asked the neighbor, and he was like, oh, it's been there 10 years, and that's my fence. It's not fucking moving. I'm like, oh, okay.
Welcome to
the
neighborhood.
We hired a surveyor, and because we were going to do demo the old carriage house, like where they'd park the buggy and the horse. And the horse, I don't know where the horses went, but the buggy was in there.
Right.
So we had to figure out where the landlines were. So we hired a surveyor, and that's when it all, like domino effect, it fell apart. And come to find out, his fence was on our land. And, in order to claim the land in Idaho, the fence has to be there for at least 20 years. And it hadn't been. And so we told him, and he talked to the surveyor. That's the funny thing. And he said he never talked to him, but the surveyor had emailed me that he talked to a 50s surfer dude. And so I was like, oh my, and who said he was my tenants that were renting the house at the time, because we rented it for a year before Ross got out. And I was like, actually, no, that's my next door neighbor. So we took the fence down, and it was snowing. It was December. We gave him a letter that said, hey, we're going to take the fence down. We're going to move it. We're paying for a new fence, so you don't have to worry about anything. And he had like ladders hung on the fence, and he had all kinds of nails, like just protruding through the fence, like 3-inch nails. So if my kids would have tried to catch a ball, and they would have impaled themselves on various nails and screws that he had just put shit on the fence. So we took it down, and he got all mad. He tried pressing charges against us for like vandalism, destruction of property,
even though
trespassing.
it was across your property line.
Yes. And we had filed a permit. Like no one had done a permit on the fence, nothing.
Yeah.
And so we had done everything the legal way. We got a permit. We had to send him a letter. We talked to an attorney to make sure that we were in the right. We did everything we were supposed to do.
Right.
And then later that night, it's snowing out, and his wife comes out. They've got the poles set in cement. Comes out and pushes on our cement pole that's trying to dry to deliver a letter under our tree in the backyard. Like, but we have her on video. That's the best part because they've done weird shit where they would like trim the tree. They'd trim it like a laser went off the side of the property line, and then they threw the branches in our yard.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, just weird stuff. They would never park their car in front of their lot. They would park it in front of ours. And we really didn't care. But like then he stuck a for sale sign on one, and it wasn't licensed or registered. Hadn't moved it for 2 months. And so then I was like, okay, and he got into several verbal altercations with Ross because he was so angry that we moved the fence. It just steamrolled.
Wow.
Well, his wife, he ended up marrying someone only a couple years, I think maybe a year before we moved in. And then he parks.
The new wife. Yeah.
Yes, the new wife. So he parks, I want to say it's like a 40-foot boat in the backyard. And it's on a trailer. So imagine a 6-foot fence and then seeing a boat 10 feet above that.
This is the movie. I swear to God, this is the movie.
And so that's all we see. And then he goes and hangs flags up, all like construction netting all along the fence. So that because we put security cameras up because he would do weird stuff to our yard.
Yeah.
Like trimming the tree and throwing branches in it, throwing dog poop over, or whatever else he's doing.
He threw dog poop over into your yard?
I'm not convinced they threw. I mean, Ross isn't convinced. I'm not convinced. But he, what I did think he did, he threw bones like that he would cook and that would crack and hurt a dog's esophagus or when they're eating. And he threw that kind of stuff in our backyard all the time.
Try to kill the dog. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's kind of jerky. Right? Yeah,
man, he is one crazy mofo. Like that. Is,
and then they had both of them had a drinking problem, so you never knew which couple you were going to run into. Like, are they going to be the abusive yelling one? Are they going to be the loud ones in their backyard who ignore you? Like, you just didn't know what to expect.
Did they fight outside? Like, would they get drunk and fight with each other?
Yes. And our neighbor, so when the renters, when we had the house, said, oh my God, they're volatile, they're a little scary. We're actually not going to miss that at all. So they had already had a volatile relationship from the beginning.
Oh my God.
So he hung up all this construction netting all along the back fence to stop our cameras from spying on them, which weren't even turned on to their backyard at all.
That's insane. That is so insane.
And so then one day we come home, we took the kids out to ice cream. It's like a beautiful day, early May. So it'll be probably just a few days and it'll be a year that he died. And we went the night before. We were at a friend's birthday party for Cinco de Mayo.
Mm-hmm.
And they had rented this restaurant and, we had a great time, went to a bar, pulled out some ATM money. So we've got lots of evidence and cameras of where we were, to make sure we had our alibi.
Alibi. Yeah. Gotta have an alibi.
Yeah. And then we drove the next day. And then here's the thing about growing up in Boise, Idaho. Ross knows everybody and so do I. So a lot of the cops that this neighbor called on us, we ended up knowing, either went to high school with them or a friend of a friend. Or, they're a sibling of someone we grew up with. So they already know us.
Right.
It was pretty crazy.
Calling a stranger to come to a stranger's house to try to convince that stranger cop that this stranger neighbor is.
Well, a few of them were strangers, but we dealt with probably 10 different police officers since we lived here. And one of them just told me, they're like, oh my God, she's so crazy. I'm so sorry you have to live next to her. And she came to the police station, was like, don't you know who I am? She's a professor, like an assistant researcher at BSU. I'm like, really?
Oh,
who are you?
Her poor students.
Yeah. Who are you?
Wow.
So anyways, we drove home and I was like, hey, bro. And I was being obnoxious to the police officer. It's my husband's best friend's little brother who's the police officer.
Oh, okay.
And then Ross was outside watering the rocks with the hose. He walks over and he's like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, oh, it's so crazy. The owner's son called and said that his stepmom killed his dad. And threw him off the boat and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, oh, it just never ends with this couple. So
Like you just roll your eyes and think, this is just another day in the
it's
life.
another chapter in this saga.
Wow.
And so then the vehicle pulls in because, we're right next to each other. And she's driving the car, pulling the big ass boat. And I was like, because she never drives. It's always the husband. And so we're like, oh my God, he's not here. And I'm, of course, videotaping this for Facebook because everybody is just as invested as I am.
Because all of your followers need to know.
With drama.
Oh my God.
And they're all living in this with me. And so I put it on Facebook and I'm live streaming. And I was like, oh my God, like maybe something really happened. And it was so weird because she gets out of the car and she's like business as usual. She's like in business mode. Like she hugs someone weekly. And then she's like, go, you need to back the boat into the driveway. They could have left it parked on the street. Like if your husband really had just died, I think the city and us would give you some, like we've never, like even when it was 2 months and they left their Hummer that was unregistered parked in front of our house, we still didn't call it in until 2 months later because we asked them to move it and they were like, fuck off. We're like, okay.
So she gets the son on board like, okay, well, here you go. Just take
she's like, we hug. And then she asks someone who I don't know who to back the big ass boat in. Come to find out, a coworker of mine was camping at the campground that weekend and said that they were like fighting and they were zooming in and out and
like on the boat, on the water?
On the water. And then they said that there was 2 women on the boat, but then it's a lot of weird situation, like a lot of erratic behavior. And then she calls the neighbors over, the invited neighbors. Of course, we are not on the list.
Oh, right.
So I'm getting reports from my neighbors, and she says that they were hiking and he tripped on some rocks. And this is like in a canyon in the desert. So there's nothing out there.
Okay.
And then she threw a life jacket into him in the water. He had blood on his head and then went down and never came back up. But I was like, A, who hikes with their life jacket on?
Okay, yeah.
So you park the boat, you swim over to the hiking, wherever you want to go.
With your life jacket.
You take your life jacket off. Who's going to take it? Literally no one's there.
Yeah, no, you take it off, you hang it on a rock somewhere and you come back.
And then you go on your hike.
Yeah.
So, and then the report came out 6 months later that said he died of drowning and there was no head trauma.
Those damn autopsies. Man.
So, I know. I don't know what's going to happen. So all of a sudden, probably 2 weeks before he died, he started wearing headphones out and like walking the dog and getting exercise, which he never did. So I was like, oh, she's probably giving him an ultimatum. Like, I'm divorcing you. And he's like, oh, now I got to get my fat ass in shape because I'm going to be single again. Like we've all known people right there, right?
Yeah.
So he's working out. And then all of a sudden, a couple weeks later, he's dead.
Holy shit.
Totally worked out for us. I mean, you don't wish any harm on anybody, but
no.
And then here's the thing. I'm turning my sprinklers on for the year and she's in her boat and I totally ignore her. I'm acting like she doesn't exist. And she goes, Kristine. And I said, yes. I need you to take your cameras down. What?
This is how long after he ends up missing? Like when is it?
This is the day she came home, that night.
Wait, this is the same day she's talking to you? Her husband just... Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, and here's the thing. I got to backtrack a little bit. She actually didn't come home the night he died. She sat on her boat drinking beer the next day and came home the next day.
Did she make it look like she was looking for him or like searching?
No. She just sat on her boat drinking beer. Oh, and I know this because my coworker was camping.
Oh, my.
And then we put 2 and 2 together. Yeah.
Holy cow.
So when she tells me to take the cameras down, I'm like, why? You going to get the blood out of your boat? Like, to bring the bleach over? What are you doing? And then she's like, we're just going through a lot. And I was like, whatever. Like, I'm sorry I don't have grace for you.
Yeah.
Like,
sorry.
No. So they just arrested someone who gave their husband Benadryl in North Idaho on Coeur d'Alene Lake. Her name was Pam. And they arrested her for murdering him. So there's might be hope in my future, but he's gone. She locked the kid out who was living in their basement, and she decided to sell the house. So now I have new neighbors.
Nice.
Yeah.
And are they hanging anything over the fence or being rude?
Nope.
or trying to kill your dogs?
Even if they hung beach towels on the fence or did whatever they want, listen to loud music, I wouldn't care. Like he just picked on us and he would scream at us for no reason.
Yeah.
And he was just volatile and angry. And here's the thing, they had picked on fights with every single person on this block before we even moved in. So,
Jeez.
and at that point, they were looking for supporters to try to come against us. But I was like, oh, you're a year too late, bro. Because I've been outside working on my landscaping, and we have beers with the neighbors and have them over for fire pits and stuff. And I was like, oh, you're donezo.
Yeah.
You're trying to turn the neighborhood against us when we're already friends with everybody. So
yeah, you should have gotten in sooner.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Should have been nice earlier. Maybe you would have stood a chance.
Wow. Well, and that's just goes to show you it really has nothing to do with you. It always has something to do with the other person.
For sure. And I guess that's karma.
Yeah.
I don't want to see anybody die,
Well,
especially I'm sure his family loved him. Well, maybe not his ex-wife or wife. Widow?
Yeah.
What did we call her?
Yeah.
But he had kids.
Yeah.
And grandkids, and that sucks for them that they've lost someone. But I would say for us, our lives substantially happier.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have I used to go in my backyard and just have a weight on me where I'd listen to him tinkering in the garage with his music super loud, and I just never knew if he was going to yell at me that day.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're always anxious, waiting for.
I was on edge, and so now I just feel at peace. Well, I will feel at peace when my yard's done. They're working on putting a patio in, and I'm putting sprinklers in. So at some point in time, it'll be done. But we moved in with mom and dad last July. So.
Oh. So your house has been under construction since last July.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we finally moved in right before the quarantine started because I was like, oh, mom and dad are moving home. They're snowbirds. So they go to Arizona for 6 months.
You were just staying in their house while.
Yeah. So we lived with them for 3 months or so. July, August, September, and then half of October, most of October. And it was great. Honestly, it was like having my mom totally mommed me. And I was like, thank you for doing my laundry. Thank you for having dinner prepared when I get home from work. And my dad would be like, hey, I got a new wine you want to try. Yes, I do.
You're like, I don't ever want to leave. Screw the new house.
So it was super easy. You never want to live with anybody for that long, but it was a really great experience. And so they moved out. We stayed in the house, and they came home for Christmas. And we just want our own place, though. It's different living in someone else's house for that long.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. I remember my brother and sister-in-law moved back from they did a stint in the Army, and they moved back and lived in my mom's basement while I was still living there. I still in high school, I think. And it was interesting. They had a newborn, and it's one big family.
Oh God, dealing with a newborn. That's got to be a lot of pressure too.
Yeah, it was terrible actually. So, and I don't even know
so bad for us because our kids are 11 and 15.
So you're like independent, and like nobody's messing stuff up. Like, hey, go clean up your shit. Yeah, okay, clean up your shit. So not.
And they have like a game room with like a pool table and a TV, and I'd be like, go in the back.
Yeah. Just go make yourself keep yourself occupied. Nice.
Just go plug into the internet and pretend we don't exist.
Well, how exciting that you're back in your house. You're under construction. Got new neighbors that aren't crazy.
Yeah, so everything's looking up for me.
Things are getting better. We hit the longest time in one location last year.
How long is it now?
Because it'll be 5 years in June. So, and I have the itch, Kristine. I want to move so bad.
Oh, maybe you just want a new house.
I think so. I don't necessarily want to leave Kansas City. I just want a new environment. I just would like a new house to play around with and decorate and do all this stuff with. So, but now with all this stuff happening, it's like, all right, that's not in the cards right now. So I think that's totally normal. I felt the same way. So we were like, do we do construction on the house, or do we find a new house just to move into? It's a thin line between what justifies buying a new house. What are you going to do to the point where it's like, we might as well just sell it and buy what we want or build what we want or whatever. But yeah, we've kind of decided, we're like, all right, this is the long haul. We'll just make this our own. So,
well, that's how we felt too, because I was just like, I don't want to move shit anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. The thought of moving is like,
all those boxes and all the heavy stuff. And then, any house that you move into is going to have problems.
All the time.
Even if you buy a brand new house, you're going to have to deal with landscaping. and whatever else, like new blinds and new this and that.
I've got friends who moved into a brand new build. They lived there a year. They had like, I guess there's something, it's like a builder walkthrough after a year where they come back and they do like the warranty check. She had like a laundry list of things, like the walls were cracking. There were already nail pops. The oak cabinetry was coming apart. The floors were buckling. I'm like, it's a brand new house. You paid a
Oh
lot
my
of money
gosh.
for this. She's like, yeah, I'm pissed because this is not supposed, like I would have just moved into an old house and done the work myself. So yeah. So
And then
hopefully it's under
it's
warranty.
done the right way too.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a laundry list of things they had to fix.
So
But
is the builder going to help her?
yeah, I think so, because I think most of it falls under warranty, and she's a tough cookie. She reminds me of you. She'll make it. She'll get it done.
Yeah.
she'll make sure.
People are
that
scared of me, and I was like, I'm not really that mean, but that's what they said at work yesterday.
The people are scared of you.
Yeah, I was like, well,
That's
I went to talk to so and so, and they're like, they're just scared of you, Kristine. Oh. Because I get all the customer complaints. So if you see me coming and I don't normally work with you, you know I got a complaint about you.
Yeah. Hey, you're straightforward to the point. I think it's great.
But I don't come with my finger in your face. I come from a place of tell me what happened. Because most of the time, I'm going to be on the defense of our team.
Yeah.
Like, actually, here's what happened. We didn't charge you for anything, and you were drunk, and here's what really happened. We have a video.
Right. We always have documentation. So
yeah.
Better keep your story straight.
I tell you what, for running a low-income veterinary clinic, you see all kinds of things that come through. You have like the most amazing human beings. You've got people with money who want to support the shelter who come and use the vet clinic. And then you have people that are just made some bad decisions and they're just trying to do the best that they can. Maybe they're not trying to do the best they can. They're just existing.
To figure it out.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad I'm not in that position.
Yeah, I know that it'd be rough, but
sometimes they just, people hear when they want to hear, but here's the other thing I've learned too. Our animals mean so much to us, and especially, our pets. And we know this being in the military world, when we send our kids off to bed, sometimes that dog or cat is the only thing we've got to hold us together.
Yeah. Yep.
And so when they become sick, sometimes we're not rational. And sometimes we say or do things that we're not proud of. And that sometimes with a little bit of distance, we're like, okay, like if they're dying or they're sick, I get it. Yeah. But I'm also not on the front lines of dealing with them either. So it's easy for me to say that when I'm not dealing with it day in and day out. So I try to have grace for everybody if I can.
It's rough. I didn't grow up with pets. We were a very, very allergic family. We didn't have any pets. I think we had a cat, and then by the time I was 3, the cat was gone. So we didn't have any dogs or cats or anything.
Where'd the cat go?
I think it died. And I don't know because I was so young. I don't know, but maybe I'll have to check into that.
Yeah, you asked the parents how that worked out.
What happened to the cat?
Whatever happened to Fluffy?
Yeah. But so Paul and I got Louie when we first met right after we got married, 2004.
Wasn't Louie just running around stray?
No, that was Oscar. The little shithead we still have now. God, I love him and hate him every day. But yeah, the Louie we got from a pet store, purebred Chihuahua, and he was the best Chihuahua I've ever met in my life. Didn't bark, didn't run away, just wanted to hang out, chill, and he just passed away last October.
Mm-hmm,
and
that's hard.
It was, I've always had conversations with people who just lost a pet like before that, and you never know what to say. And you think, oh, it's okay. They're in a better place. At least they're not hurting. And then you lose your own pet and you go, oh, fucking everything I just said. Like everything I've ever said to anybody who's just lost a pet, like nothing means anything.
No.
Like you cannot, there's nothing to say. You just kind of have to be like,
I'm sorry. And you don't know how they feel. So
yeah, it was insane. I never, we had some time. It wasn't sudden. Like he lived a great life. It was 16 years old. So it was insane. But, he went through the whole like liver failure, kidney failure. It's pretty obvious. He needs to be put down type thing. So, but first time. It does. It really does. And then you look at the other dog you have left over and you're like, God, why couldn't you died?
Russ would say that about a rescue I brought in. Because after our son passed away, we adopted 2 King Charles Spaniels that were rescues. One was a grandma and one was the granddaughter. And I think they bred them, but they were like these weird bug-eyed. They weren't like normal King Charles. But I just needed something in my life to distract me, to give back. And she was diabetic, blind, had a heart murmur. I'd have to give her injections. She's deaf. She had her period, or maybe she was just, I don't know, she bled around the house.
Yeah, because that's what the people dogs do.
Yeah. Die, Darla, die. Every day. That's exactly what he would say. And then he deployed. I think she was just hanging on to say, fuck you.
Yeah.
And then I called the vet. And I was like, hey, I don't think she's doing so well. And they're like, oh, yeah, bring her down when I made an appointment. And then I turn around and Quade's like, Darla's blowing bubbles. So she had a seizure in that time and like bubble vomit stuff coming out. And I was like, oh my God. So I loaded the kids in the car and had to drive half an hour to the vet clinic just to euthanize her. Poor thing.
Gosh. Yeah.
At least she knew some love at the end of her life.
Yeah. Yeah. They're there for a reason. And
yeah. Oscar's teaching you or your kid something. I don't know. Maybe you'll just really love that new dog when you get him.
I don't know. We wanted to look for a new one. And in fact, what's weird is we bought Louie in Michigan. We ended up traveling all around the world, ended up in Kansas City, and found out through his papers and bloodline that he had a cousin at the breeder where he came from in Kansas, like right across the state line, like an hour and a half away. And so we called the breeder, and it was like a long lost distant cousin of Louie's. She's like, yeah, I have him if you want him. And it was so soon after he'd passed. I was like, this is not a good idea. Yeah. And it was right before we headed into winter. And I'm like, if there is one thing I'm not doing, because let's be honest, look at the 5 of us. I'm the one going to be potty training this puppy. Yeah. Like no one else is going to be doing this shit. I am not taking a puppy out in a Missouri winter to try to train it to go to the bathroom, especially a Chihuahua. Like, no, I'm not doing it. So
it's risky when there's just moisture on the grass. So
right. I know. I hate it. Every time it had raindrops and the dogs are like, well, guess I'm peeing in the house today. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
It's ridiculous. But, well, I got to wrap up because I think my computer's going to die and I didn't even remember to bring the charger with me.
I feel like we just had a Seinfeld episode podcast where we just talked about nothing.
Which, you know what? That's pretty much every other podcast that I've done, which I love because that's pretty much how I have conversations with people. I call them spiderweb conversations.
Yeah.
I love it too. I miss you too. It was so good talking to you. Thank you. We had a little snafu there with the audio at the end, but I wanted to say thank you again, Kristine, for joining me tonight. I had so much fun whining with you. And for those that are curious, Kristine was sipping on some Josh Cabernet, and I was enjoying some Prophecy Pinot Noir. Don't forget, grab your copy of 15 Years of War. You can find it on Amazon, and I'll put the link in the description below. Follow the Winey Girl on Instagram @officialwhineygirl. And until next time, cheers, bitches. Booyah.